Any other takeaways, Rick? I know you had a bunch of thoughts on the Bahamas. So what else do you want to get into?
Let's talk about the freshman class real quick. So we've talked a bit already. Who was the most impressive out of the freshmen to you?
I liked what I saw in limited time. And again, I tried to go back and make some notes as much as I could. I liked what I saw limited time out of Dalen Swain. I thought he just looked kind of under control in a couple of different sequences there. I don't know how much you're going to get out of him right away, but I thought at least he wasn't as far behind the 8 ball as I guess I was maybe. I don't know, that it's hard to say that, but when I haven't seen anything, right? You've been to the practices. I haven't seen the practices at all. This was my first opportunity to watch any of these guys. I'm trying to go back and think if there were any. Trey Green is the obvious answer, right? I think Trey. I think Trey is what he did offensively, like getting to the rim, knowing where he was supposed to be on the floor, his ability to shoot, being aggressive, getting to the foul line. Trey, far and away, was the obvious answer here. He's somebody that you can tell. In fact, I texted somebody right away. I was a half in. And I texted somebody and I said that, this Trey Green guy he's the real deal. And there was no doubt about that.
So I've loved Trey Green's game. I have not made any bones about that when talking about him on the message board or the site after he committed. I've loved his game. Now, there are definitely concerns when you're bringing in like a 5'10". He's listed at 6 foot. He's definitely not 6 foot.
He's not.
Yeah, 5'10" point guard or whatever he is. There are going to be concerns. And I have concerns about his defense. He doesn't stay in front of people all that well. And just his lack of size is going to be a problem. But sometimes it's just a guy's makeup that it's going to work out for him. Like the skill set and the athleticism and all that is great. You got to have it. But sometimes the makeup is what you really need to see. And Trey Green is just one of those guys where it's like he never stops coming at you. He thinks he's the best player on the floor. He's going to shoot it every time you give him a little bit of space. Like he checked into that first game against University of Victoria. The first possession on the court, he brings the ball up the court as a point guard, dishes it off, relocates, goes off a flare screen, catches it, takes a step in, shoots a mid-range jumper and swishes it. And like in the second half, one of his first few possessions in the game, he comes down, he's on the right side, he gets a ball screen from Logan Duncombe. The defender guarding him goes underneath of it. He starts to go into the offense like, okay, I'm just going to go around. Wait a second. Did that guy just go under the screen? Hold on a second. Let me step back from like 25 here and just bury this 3 now. That's what I love about Trey Green. It's just extreme confidence. If you give him any room, he's going to attack you and use it against you. And he doesn't back down. He has toughness. Again, not great defensively, but at least he's going to give you effort and toughness on the defensive end. And so I think Trey Green is their most impressive freshman. And certainly in the Bahamas, I thought he lived up to that with his microwave scoring ability. And as I already talked about, Quincy Oliveri is your only shooter in the starting lineup if you use the starting lineup that you used in the Bahamas. So having Trey Green to bring in off the bench is going to be something that I think this team needs right away.
Yeah, Trey Green is going to be special in a Xavier uniform. I think you can mark that down, and he's going to be very fun to watch too. He's not somebody that's necessarily a grinder, and he is going to go out there and be a fun basketball player to watch night in and night out.
Well, and you see a lot of guys like this in college basketball. The smaller point guard who can just boogie with the ball, right? Break you down off the dribble, call their own number, hit those crazy tough shots, lead the game at the end. I mean, to extent, kind of like a Tu Holloway type player, right? He didn't have that quickness, the water bug aspect to him, but he was kind of like that guy that you put the ball in his hands. You didn't necessarily have to call play for him. He was just a dog and he'd go make something happen for you. And there's been so many guys like that in college basketball, but when is the last time Xavier had that at the point guard position? When's the last time Xavier had a point guard who could knock down the 3 consistently and who could just go make his own shot out of nothing? Just go create offense.
Yeah.
Really, honestly, I don't know maybe Tu Holloway, right?
Well, Sule Boom did a decent job last year of shooting and spacing the floor, but not in the same sense that Trey Green can go out there and do it now.
Well, I think Sule Boom is the right. I mean, I was talking more before Sean Miller. You're right about Sule Boom, but yes, yeah. I think Sule Boom is similar to Trey Green in a lot of ways, so that's a pretty good comparison. But it's like going back before the Sean Miller era.
Oh, sorry, you kind of cut out from my side. So if you said that,
no, I didn't say that. Okay. But I was just thinking like they haven't really recruited a point guard. You know, they brought in Sule as a transfer, but like in terms of recruits and guys that have come up through the program, who is the last guard they brought in that was kind of like that you got to see develop? And it's like, you know, there are some opportunities that maybe like a Quentin Gooden you thought might have turned into that or something, but it just hasn't really materialized for them in a long time where they've had like that type of player. And I think Trey Green is that type of guy. So I'm really excited about watching him develop. So the second most impressive guy, I think, is the most fun part here, because had you asked me that question going into the offseason or even after watching practices leading up to the Bahamas on Friday or Saturday, had you asked me who is the second most impressive freshman after Trey Green, I would have probably said Dalen Swain. And definitely after watching practice for a few days, I would have said Dalen Swain, because he looked really impressive, looked really good in practice. He did not play very well down in the Bahamas. So I'm not like ready to knock him down a peg and be like, oh, Dalen Swain's going to struggle or anything like that. I'm not reading too much into that. I still think Dalen Swain probably has the highest upside out of any of the freshmen right now, except for maybe Lazar Djokovic. We can talk about that more. But like out of the guys who were already committed in the original class, Dalen Swain probably had the highest upside. Didn't play all that well in the Bahamas. I think right now, if you're asking me who I'm most confident in that they will work out of the freshmen right now, I go Trey Green, and then I go Kashi. Like, I just think his size, length, athleticism, and the way he plays, which is all out, runs the floor hard, and really rebounds out of his area, that almost always works. Like, I mean, he might be limited on the offensive end. We'll see how he develops in that regard, but what he can do, I think, already works at the high major level. So I would say Kashi is kind of my revelation from the Bahamas as the second most impressive freshman.
Yeah, I thought going back and watching, like I said, when you asked me who was the most impressive, and I was talking about Dalen Swain, I thought he had a couple of sequences where you could at least see like the flash in the pan, right? Where you could see, okay, there's something there. Yep. But as far as consistency over the course of an entire game, I can't agree with you more that how encouraging is it too that you're seeing it both out on the perimeter in Trey Green and then in the post in Enze too, where you're getting that dynamic where we're not sitting here and saying, oh man, Xavier has so much talent outside, but it's going to be a log jam because they have 4 perimeter players, and where are you going to get all those guys in? Now all of a sudden you have somebody who we weren't really sure what to expect out of Kashi, right? He committed, didn't have a whole lot of fanfare when he committed, and now all of a sudden he's on the team and he goes in practice and now in a game where, you know, you talked about him and said he can go out there and produce, and he's looked apart.
I feel like we know more about Lazar Djokovic coming in than we did about Kashi Enze when he committed. I'm being dead serious. There was like no film of Kashi.
There was nothing. Yeah.
And like I barely saw him play. So I had very low I shouldn't say low expectations. I had no expectations. I didn't know what to expect from him at all. I would say he's completely exceeded whatever I thought he was going to be.
Rick, the one guy that we haven't talked a ton about here, you mentioned his name real quick, but any thoughts on Reed Ducharme?
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting one because, again, we're mentioning all these other guys. So it's like, okay, well, is Reed the least impressive? It's like, well, Reed scored 17 points in that second game. And again, against raw talent, elite, whatever. But I don't care. Anytime a freshman comes in one of his first couple of exhibition games, he puts up 17 points. He only misses 2 of his shots and knocks down a couple of threes, gets in the... See, the thing about Reed Ducharme is a lot of people call him a shooter. And I've always said he's more... I don't want to use this name because people think so highly of him, but he's more JP Makira in terms of his game than he is like spot up shooter. You know, he's more of like hit the ball, knock it loose, dive on the floor, foul you but doesn't get called for it, flops a little bit, like shows some toughness, all those types of things. That's more who he is. That's where his value comes in, more so than in him knocking down 6 threes in a game or something like that. So while I think he can shoot and he's a streaky shooter that can get hot from the outside, I think his overall value comes in some of the other stuff. So to see him score like that and shoot it pretty well like that is interesting because, again, it's like when you're looking at this freshman class now, we're talking about 5 guys here. And if you made an argument about any of the 5 and said, I think they're going to be a really good player in the Big East one day, I don't really have much to argue against there. Like, yeah, there's still a lot to be proven by all these guys. I'm not ready to talk about what an epic class this is or anything. They've got a lot to prove, but at the same time, it really looks to have some depth because all of these guys look capable at the moment.